wow. Sorry, I want to react to one more, and then we can go back to like Fortnite or some shit. But been feeling. I seen this video for a little while. Shout out my brody Zach for putting me on Sir Furnace Colors. Hold on.
This is the
That's
most
my
heavily
internet
guarded
shit.
prison in Mexico.
My shit.
Tall mesh fences, huge watchtowers. The area is a no-fly zone.
Hopefully
This prison is considered to be unescapable. Yet today, someone will escape. This someone happens to be the world's most powerful drug lord, El Chapo. He won't use any violence, nor will he climb over the fence. All he will do is walk into his shower and disappear. This is the story of how El Chapo became one of the most successful drug dealers in the history of mankind. How he was hunted by authorities for decades, and how he escaped them over and over again. And it's the story of how an interview with a Hollywood actor and a failing car engine finally brought him down.
Oh, I thought that shit showed IP and shit. I was like, oh man. Oh, I'm done. We good though. Alright, anyway, let me restart because I'm yapping.
How he was hunted. This is the most heavily guarded prison in Mexico. Tall mesh fences, huge watchtowers. The area is a no-fly zone. This prison is considered to be unescapable. Yet today, someone will escape. This someone happens to be the world's most powerful drug lord, El Chapo. He won't use any violence, nor will he climb over the fence. All he will do is walk into his shower and disappear. This is the story of how El Chapo became one of the most successful drug dealers in the history of mankind. How he was hunted by authorities for decades, and how he escaped them over and over again. And it's the story of how an interview with a Hollywood actor and a failing car engine finally brought him down.
Yep, shout out them, bro. They tough. El Señor. Hold on, let me see how my Spanish is.
Joaquin Archivado Guzman Loera was born on April 4th, 1957, in a poor family in a
El
poor
Chapo
neighborhood.
was so bad, Mexico sent him to the United States to rot away in our prison because he kept escaping Mexican prisons. Bro, that's insane. That nigga was just massive. Bro, he probably had everybody paid off. That nigga, didn't he build his own prison or his prison, his own compound and shit, bro? Like, that nigga had probably a lot of niggas on that payroll.
Latuna.
Just let me out in the middle of the night, please.
Mexico Sierra Madre Mountains.
I'll triple your payments this month. Done,
Boys here
nigga.
don't
Like,
grow up
what?
listening to the
Them
astronauts,
niggas need to feed the fam.
Firefighters or doctors. They want to become drug traffickers. It's a way to make money,
look at all that
and money
shit.
is a way out. People will call Guzman El Chapo because of his height. He doesn't grow taller than 1.67 meters. El Chapo drops out of school early.
Wow.
He doesn't even finish elementary school. Instead, he spends his time working on the marijuana and poppy fields, a family tradition. From a young age, El Chapo is extremely ambitious. He makes friends with big names in the local drug scene, determined to rise through the ranks of Mexican organized crime. First, he becomes a so-called problem solver. Whenever a truckload of drug shipment misses schedule, El Chapo eliminates the person responsible. His uncompromising attitude makes him trustworthy, and he grows close to the kingpin of the Guadalajara cartel. When the boss is arrested, El Chapo keeps the business running, ultimately setting up his own organization with other traffickers, the Sinaloa cartel. He organizes planes, trucks, and
They said technically the cartel existed
Sinaloa
before.
cartel.
They said technically the cartel existed before, but they created its modern version. Okay. That we know
He
today.
organizes planes, trucks, and rail cars to deliver cocaine and heroin.
So the previous niggas wasn't even pulling nowhere near what these niggas was pulling, obviously, because these are the best of the best. So
It's the United
I
States,
wouldn't even carry.
and he even builds border-crossing tunnels, a skill that will come in handy many years later. In those early years, one incident really puts El Chapo on the map. This is Juan Jesus Posadas. He's the Archbishop of Guadalajara and a cardinal, one of the highest ranks in the church. Posadas is a popular man. He advocates for the poor and publicly condemns drug trade. Right now, he is on his way to the airport to meet an ambassador of the Vatican. At the same time, El Chapo and his bodyguards pull into the parking lot. They are here to catch a flight to the beach resort town of Puerto Vallarta, one of El Chapo's favorite places to party. We don't know exactly what happened in this parking lot next. One thing we know for sure, though, the Cardinal will not survive.
I did not know that.
This is the official version. These brothers run a drug trafficking operation out of Tijuana. They are at war with El Chapo and his cartel. They fight over drug running territory, and somehow they get wind that El Chapo is going to be at the airport that day. So one of the brothers and a group of gunmen rush there to ambush him. When they spot him and his bodyguards, they step out of their cars and open fire. El Chapo and his men run toward the terminal building, taking cover behind cars in the lot. It's raining bullets, but somehow they manage to escape without getting hit. The failed assassination leaves 7 people dead, among them the Cardinal. This is the version of events that authorities will publicly report. Posadas was caught in the crossfire. Wrong time, wrong place. But there are doubts about this story. His death doesn't appear like a coincidence. Forensic experts will later say it's likely that the gunman killed the Cardinal deliberately. He was shot 14 times from close range.
Damn.
Later, the officials suggest that the gunman had mistaken the cars. El Chapo regularly drives a white Mercury Grand Marquis, the same model Posadas sat in that day. The gunman thought it's El Chapo's car and opened fire. But the Cardinal wore his robe when he was shot. He was not dressed at all like a drug lord. If the gunman killed him at a close range, how could they have confused him with El Chapo? Years later, the successor of Posadas will make a serious accusation. He claims the murder of the Cardinal was a crime of the state.
Se trató de un crimen de Estado, perpetrado por la Policía Judicial Federal, es decir, por la Policía de la PGR.
He believes the police carried out the killing for the Mexican government. Posadas had accused government officials of having ties to these cartels. Up to this day, it remains a mystery. What really happened in 1993 at Guadalajara Airport?
It had to been some fucking sly shit that just happened.
Really?
I don't know. I think it
This year
was...
used him. It was not Chapo and Marquis bested the gunman, the same fire. But the Cardinal wore his robe when he was shot. He was not dressed at all like a drug lord. If the gunman killed him at a close range, how could they have confused him with El Chapo? Years later, the successor of Posadas will make a serious accusation. He claims the murder of the Cardinal was a crime of the state.
Se trató de un crimen de Estado, perpetrado por la Policía Judicial Federal, es decir, por la Policía de la PGR.
He believes the police carried out the killing for the Mexican government. Posadas had accused government officials of having ties to these cartels. Up to this day, it remains a mystery. What really happened in 1993 at Guadalajara Airport? This is El Chapo's wife, his sons, and one of his closest partners. Just 2 months ago, El Chapo was captured and brought to Altiplano Maximum Security Prison. Now the group is working on a plan to get him out. They begin by acquiring an old property 1 kilometer away from the prison. Next, they buy an old warehouse near.
Wow. Money sure do get you places. Wow.
Security prison. Now the group is working on a plan to get him out. They begin by acquiring an old property 1 kilometer away from the prison. Next, they buy an old warehouse nearby. Here they store weapons in an armored pickup truck. Then they hire workers for one very specific job, digging a sophisticated tunnel.
This is crazy.
Back in 1993, after the shootout at Guadalajara Airport, the Mexican government placed a bounty on El Chapo. It took just 2 weeks until he was found and arrested. He denies being responsible for the death of the Cardinal. He insists that he was the supposed target of the shootout. Ultimately, the authorities believe him. They don't charge him for homicide, just for drug trafficking. He is sentenced to 20 years in a Mexican prison, but he continues to run the Sinaloa cartel from behind bars. Through his lawyers, he passes orders to his closest allies. He doesn't need to be in the room to pull strings. His empire runs on whispered instructions and tightly coordinated moves. Sometimes real power is remote. With AnyDesk, you can access any desktop.
Your mother.
Specific tool. People sitting in our People.com Supreme Court just approved the law. El Chapo has it across any setup, anywhere. In 2001, El Chapo has enough of life in prison.
I'm sorry.
Also, the Mexican Supreme Court just approved a law that makes it easier to extradite criminals like him to the U.S. Time to get out. The official version of his first prison escape is spectacular. He supposedly bribes a guard who helps him climb into a laundry cart. The guard then pushes the cart out of the cell, down the hallways, and through an unguarded gate to the parking lot. El Chapo jumps out and climbs into the trunk of a car. The guard gets in and drives to the outer prison gate. After a quick search, the car is waved through. Nobody checks the trunk. But again, that's just the official story. Several authors and journalists don't buy it. One argues that the prison's checkpoints were equipped with heat and motion sensors, capable of detecting any living creature, even a cat. That means the alarms would have gone off. Instead, the journalists suggest that El Chapo may have left the prison dressed in a police uniform, escorted by other corrupt officers.
Why is there multiple stories, though? Am I, confused?
One way or another, systemic corruption likely played a role, and El Chapo put his newly won freedom to use.
Crazy. Public enemy, el enemigo público.
In the following years, the Mexican cartel landscape changes dramatically. In 2002, the leader of the Tijuana cartel is killed in a shootout with police. One of the brothers who had supposedly tried to assassinate El Chapo, the cartel of Mexico, cartel landscape changes dramatically. In the following years,
see this map. Okay, fuck. All right, anyway. Damn. Motherfuckers just in there like swimwear.
The Mexican cartel landscape changes dramatically. In 2002, the leader of the Tijuana cartel is killed in a shootout with police. One of the brothers who had supposedly tried to assassinate El Chapo at the airport. A year later, the leader of the Gulf cartel is arrested. Two major cartels are now without leadership. El Chapo sees an opportunity. He pushes into Tijuana and Gulf territory, triggering brutal fighting. Nuevo Laredo, an area along the U.S.-Mexican border, practically turns into a
Niggas
war
lost their
zone.
lives for this shit. It's
Former
crazy.
forces of the Mexican army begin working for El Chapo. They clash with what's left of the Gulf cartel, whose core fighters were partly trained by the U.S. Early on, the violence results in more than 1,000 deaths, many of them civilians. And that's only the beginning. In 2006, Felipe Calderón becomes Mexico's new president. Determined to crack down on organized crime, he declares war on the cartels and deploys the military. The violence escalates dramatically. Between 2007 and 2014, over 160,000 people died in the course of the war on drugs in Mexico. In these years of bloodshed, El Chapo rises. He becomes the world's most wanted criminal, transforming the Sinaloa cartel into one of the most powerful criminal organizations in history. It becomes the top supplier of drugs to the United States:
He's like, I'm never
cocaine,
going
heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. El Chapo's cartel operates in 50 countries and generates billions of dollars in profits each year.
Jeez.
In turn, El Chapo becomes extremely wealthy, eventually making Forbes' list of the world's billionaires. No wonder it's hard to keep him locked up.
He made the Forbes?
Wonder it's hard to keep him locked up.
I didn't even know that. Wait.
List of the world's billionaires.
Or is this just like fake? I'm just kidding.
No wonder
I
it's
don't
hard to
know.
keep
That's
him
crazy.
locked up.
I didn't know that. No idea.
El Chapo's rescue commando needs to know the exact location of his prison cell, so they smuggle a GPS watch into his prison cell, disguised as a food item. Now the workers know in what direction they need to dig. Over the span of a year, they dig a sophisticated tunnel, a carefully planned complex construction costing approximately $5 million to make. The tunnel is 1.5 kilometers long and 1.70 meters high. It is reinforced by a wooden frame. There are lights and even a ventilation system. Digging a tunnel creates a lot of dirt, so the workers build a rail system with a motorcycle adapted to it to move the dirt out of the tunnel. The construction is also supposed to function as an escape vehicle later on. But how did El Chapo end up in El Altiplano in the first place? Andrew Hogan is an agent with the Drug Enforcement Agency. He wants to take down the most powerful drug lord on Earth, perhaps in history. Currently, he's looking for allies, but he soon discovers somehow there is no task force, no team, not even a single federal agent assigned to the job of bringing El Chapo to justice.
It's crazy.
So he takes a Spanish class and prepares to move to Mexico. Meanwhile, one of Andrew's colleagues in the US manages to get the pin to El Chapo's BlackBerry, thanks to someone in his inner circle. He tracks down his phone to the holiday resort Cabo San Lucas. The colleague immediately calls Andrew. They're excited, and so they pass the information to the officials in Mexico. The DEA and Mexican police quickly head down to the place where El Chapo is supposedly hiding, but he's nowhere to be found.
Okay.
Next, they narrow down El Chapo's phone signal to one of 3 mansions near the resort Cabo San Lucas. This time, it's a hit. He's there.
Damn.
But before the forces arrive,
makes him out here
El
too.
Chapo just escapes through the back door. Somehow he makes it to an airstrip without being caught and is flown to safety.
That's crazy. Why? This nigga
El Chapo
always, like,
always
he's just a
seems to
step
be one step
ahead. At
ahead.
this point, he's just a step ahead, bro. I don't know. Like, I don't know how, but he just is. I don't, like, he just,
Constantly changes his SIM cards and phones and simply outsmarts the authorities. One DEA agent supposedly said the Mexicans couldn't catch El Chapo if he was standing at the fucking Starbucks across the street from the embassy. But Andrew Hogan doesn't give up. In May 2012, he moves to Mexico City with his family and takes over the...
That's what I'm saying. He really was in there, bro. Like, there's no...
in a lowercase.
There's no other answer for me. Like, there's just no other way.
In the months that follow, he and his team begin...
But, like, he was controlling multiple, like... He was controlling, like... Oh, my God. I don't even know. $1 billion man right there. I don't know what to
members
say.
of El Chapo's inner
You got to be
circle.
smart for that shit.
Bit by bit, they uncovered the cartel's complex communication
Long story
system.
short, before I get
Their
on a
offer
rant,
numbers are
or
changed,
like
possible code
long-winded.
names, and GPS locations. Slowly, a picture begins to emerge. One day, El Chapo seemingly wants to meet an underling in person, and he sends one of his chauffeurs to pick him up. Hogan tracks his phone. The chauffeur finally arrives at a place in Culiacan. The signal leads to a group of 5 houses. Hogan organizes a capture operation with dozens of Mexican Marines, helicopters, and trucks, and he joins the mission himself. They surround the property and storm inside. But once again, El Chapo is gone. Instead, they find a strangely placed bathtub covering the entrance to a tunnel that leads into the sewers of Culiacan. But this time, the Marines manage to stay on El Chapo's tail. 3 days later, they find out that one of his men had driven him to the coastal town of Mazatlan, to a hotel.
Oh, he's probably so long
Marines
gone.
enter the 4th floor of the hotel. They storm into room 401, heading straight for the bedroom. El Chapo is with his family.
Oh,
He barricades
never
himself
mind.
in the bathroom with an assault rifle. His wife pleads with the soldiers not to harm their daughters. Shortly after El Chapo surrenders, they got him.
Damn.
Andrew Hogan's job is done now. He caught the most wanted man on the planet,
Mr. Hogan.
and he worries for the safety of his family, who moved to Mexico with him. So they board a plane back to the U.S. Meanwhile, El Chapo goes to Altiplano. The U.S. is pushing hard for his extradition. This would likely be his doom, the end of his reign. Time for another tunnel.
Otra fuga? Más?
The rescue
Fuga?
team and the workers manage to locate the exact
Fuga?
spot of El
I don't
Chapo's
know.
cell shower.
I
They
forgot.
build a 10-meter vertical passageway that connects the tunnels to the cell,
pronunciation.
including a ladder. All this digging and drilling creates a lot of noise.
That's what I'm saying.
Several inmates are
That's what I was
complaining,
gonna say, bro.
but the
Some of
guards
some
ignore
of these
them.
plans, some of this shit is like so like off. It's like it's too unrealistic, but like it's not at the same time because it's like being displayed in 3D imagery or whatever this shit, animation right here. It's just crazy. It's just like what the fuck, like. Anyway.
El Chapo's rescue team manages to complete
You
the
making
5
that
meter
much money
tunnel
like
directly
that,
into his prison cell,
You gotta do what
without
you gotta
anyone
do, I
interfering.
guess.
All that's
in
left
there.
is breaking through the cell floor, and thus comes the day.
Yeah, the Chapo.
El Chapo sits on his bed. A surveillance camera monitors him closely. The camera also records audio. You can hear television.
that shit's
The volume
scary.
is turned up. But you also hear loud banging noises. Probably someone is breaking through the cell floor. Next, El Chapo begins to pace up and down in his cell. After some time, he walks to his shower stall, bends over, and goes back to his bed. He removes his shoes, sits for a second. Then he walks behind the shower wall and simply disappears.
Woo, that's crazy.
He squeezes through the hole in the ground.
What we
It's
looking
just
like?
50 by 50 centimeters wide.
Okay.
1 meter below, he finds footing on a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
He climbs down 10 meters into the ground until he reaches the tunnel. Someone is already waiting for him, likely his wife's brother. The rescuer sits on the motorcycle on rails. El Chapo climbs on behind him. Together, they make the 1.5 kilometer ride to the other end of the tunnel. When they arrive, El Chapo and his
That's just
companions
kind of
climb
funny,
up a
bro. I
small
ain't gonna
ladder to the
lie.
exit
I
shaft.
want to laugh right
They
there,
end
but
up in
that's
an unfinished house covered with construction material.
nigga ugly, bro.
An ATV is parked outside. They drive a short distance to a
Yeah.
warehouse and switch to an SUV. Then they drive for 2 hours until they arrive at an airstrip. A plane is already waiting. They board it and fly to Sinaloa.
Sinaloa, that's his home. Gotta go back home, baby. Gotta go
2
back to the
months later, one of
compound.
El Chapo's sons posts a tweet. I'm doing
He
fine.
said, Augusto aquí ya sabin. No, I'm just kidding. Sabien. No, I'm just kidding. Saben con quien. How do you say that? Apatoro? Apatoru? What the?
And here, you already know with who.
I don't know what that said.
Attached to Chapo's sons posts a tweet. I'm doing fine here. You already know with whom.
That's my Spanish,
Attached is
y'all.
a photo, presumably with his father. The tweet is tagged with a location, Costa Rica.
Damn. 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 He fucked up. Oh,
Let's
dry
back up for a
snitching?
second.
That's a horrible
about this
dry snitch.
spectacular-
That's a horrible dry snitch. That's a horrible dry snitch.
Costa Rica. Photo, presumably with his father. The tweet is tagged with a location, Costa Rica.
Unless that was planned, like, he's crazy.
Let's back up for a second. Some things about
I
this
doubt it.
spectacular escape just don't add up. There's video footage of guards watching their screens as El Chapo disappears. Yet it takes them 20 minutes to check a cell. They even wait a few more minutes before they finally enter and check the escape hole. Also, it seems unlikely that building such a tunnel truly went unnoticed, after all inmates actively complained about the drilling noise. A large majority of Mexicans believe the escape was an inside job.
Of course,
Shortly
they're
after
always,
El
bro.
Chapo's second prison escape, the prison's warden and 2
$1
other
million man
officials
we're
were
talking
fired.
about.
Next, 4 Mexican officials were charged. 2 were members of Mexico's Secret Service, based at the prison. The other 2 were guards who sat in the control room, monitoring El Chapo's cell.
Nigga, the Secret Service? Bro, you know how much money? Chat. Like, let's
The
be
accusation
real.
is that they bought El Chapo valuable time by not raising the alarm once the drug lord was gone. And El Chapo, he again becomes one of the most wanted criminals on Earth. The pressure to finally bring him to justice is higher than ever. The
It's
hunt
fucking
is on.
crazy, the fucking Secret Service, nigga.
Then El Chapo
Changing
makes
the
a
game.
crazy move. He knows he's considered a legend in Mexico, and he wants even more fame. A movie about his life on the big screen. Sean Penn is already involved in a
Changed.
production about him, along with Mexican actress Kate Del Castillo. Castillo manages to contact El Chapo and his associates. Finally, El Chapo agrees to meet her and Sean Penn in person to talk about the movie, while technically he's on the run. This is a photo of the meetup. Sean
Hey,
Penn
nice to meet
interviews
you,
El
bud.
Chapo about his career as a drug lord, a story later published by the Rolling Stone.
Hey.
In it, Penn reveals that El Chapo's escape tunnel engineers have been flown to Germany.
In 1989, beneath the border from Tijuana to San Diego, and pioneered the use of its tunnels to transport his products and evade capture. I will discover that his already accomplished engineers have been flown to Germany last year for 3 months of extensive additional training necessary to deal with the low-lying water table beneath the prison, a tunnel equipped with a pipe track guided motorcycle. Oh, so wait, they had the animation of that shit earlier, y'all. Anyway, with an engine modified to function in the minimally oxygenized space, allowing El Chapo to drop through a hole in his cell's shower floor into its saddle and ride to freedom. It was this president of Mexico who had to agree
Germany
to
for
see
3
us.
months of extensive
Okay.
additional training.
Oh, he was gonna read it
necessary
anyway.
to deal with the low-lying water table beneath the prison. It's a gripping read. Beneath his smile, there's a doubtlessness to his facial expression. A question comes to mind as I observe his face, both as he speaks as while he listens. What is it that removes all doubt from a man's eyes? Is it power, admirable clarity,
nigga going through
or
some
soullessness?
shit.
But according to government
Philosopher.
sources, the interview is also a crucial factor for investigators to get closer to El Chapo.
Wait, let me hear that shit again.
The power, admirable clarity.
He said, beneath his smile, there is a doubtlessness to his facial expression. Yada, yada, yada. Or soullessness.
Soullessness.
Some of y'all niggas need to see this. He says they now shower. Oh, I didn't even see this. Yodi, what's up, Jay? And then now they now shower him with a water hose now because of he escapes. What? He said because of escape, he pulled in the showers in Mexico. El Chapo can't be trusted with a shower is crazy. LMAO, that's crazy. Imagine just getting hosed down each day. Good morning, nigga. Like, come on, bro. Unless he hoses himself, then that's one thing. But that would just be crazy if a nigga hose you down. I'm just stating that. What up, gang? That's crazy, Jay. Oh my God. It's so good to see you. So good to, hey, see.
But according to government sources, the interview is also a crucial factor for investigators to get closer to El Chapo. Apparently, all the while, they're monitoring Penn and Castillo's movements very closely.
L what? L what? L what? Bitch. Alright, anyway, I'm just a little zooty. Just vibe with a nigga.
October 9th, 2015, Mexican special forces are closing in on him in the mountains of Sinaloa. After a while, they actually spot him. He's only got one bodyguard with him. This is their moment. They take off after them, chasing them through the terrain. As they get nearer, El Chapo falls off a cliff. His bodyguard finds him and carries him to the depths of the forest. The special forces lose sight of them and they escape. A catastrophe.
Hey, we should be back. My shit is tweaking, but we should be back. Let me know if we lagging or not. I'm gonna start to working. All right, ready? No, let me know if we back. All right, y'all ready? Yeah, nigga, come on, bro. Let me know if we back. What is happening? No, nigga. Hello? Why the fuck was my stream lagging, bro? Damn, that nigga need to cut though, huh? Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, that's on me, bro. I was fucking messing with my shit. Oh shit, let me turn off the shit. Ooh. I'm still new to this. Especially the Twitch shit. Yeah, my PC.
But the authorities don't give up the hunt. In January 2016, they get another chance. The Marines manage to locate El Chapo once again in the coastal city of Los Mochis. The clue comes from a taco order placed from a white van. Witnesses say the driver is one of El Chapo's men. The Marines begin to surveil the car. It ultimately leads them to a safe house. A few hours later, the soldiers storm the place. Cartel gunmen try to hold them off. A gunfight breaks out. The Marines eventually push up to the second floor, then the roof. But El Chapo is gone. True to his form, he and one of his gunmen fled through a hidden tunnel. Right now, they are climbing out of a drainage tunnel a short distance away, right across from a Walmart. El Chapo and his gunmen need to escape quickly. They steal a car, guns drawn, but after just driving a few blocks, the car breaks down. So they ditch it and lose valuable time. Then they take over another car and manage to get on the highway, but it's too late. Police finally arrest El Chapo, one of history's most powerful drug lords. He tells the officers, "You are all going to die." 40 of his assassins are supposedly on their way to free him, but he gets handed over to the Marines, and it's over. After a decade of hide and seek, escaping over and over again, in all likelihood protected by systemic corruption, El Chapo has finally been caught.
That's crazy.
Later that day, the Mexican president tweets, "Mission accomplished. We have him." Soon after, El Chapo was extradited to the United States, the one thing he truly feared. On July 17th, 2019, 3 years after his second escape, he was sentenced to life in Colorado's Supermax prison. That's where he remains locked up to this day. The Sinaloa cartel and other Mexican cartels are as strong as ever, operating as undeterred global organizations. There's so much more to the story that we couldn't cover in this video, but apparently some video journalist obsessed with maps is about to pick it up very soon.
Oh, hi Fern. Love your stuff.
What?
We will keep you posted.
I don't know who that is, but that was kind of hard. Anyway.